Hey guys, it's been a really long time since I did my last OLJ Q&A. I actually was in July of 2013 when I posted my last one, and I thought I would do that again. I like doing these every once in a while so I can more directly kind of touch base with you. Obviously I can't answer all of your questions, and thank you by the way for all of your wonderful questions. And I do apologize if I've answered some things already in the past, but I honestly don't remember what questions I answered back in July, and my answers might have changed since then anyway. I tried to pick out the most highly rated questions from my Facebook page, and then I also picked a few questions from Twitter as well, as I like to, get a little from both audiences. I'm not sure, both platforms. Yeah, that might be more the correct term there. So I have a little sheet. I printed them all out. And let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm starting with my Facebook questions, and I've picked 5. So first, from Tracy, do you keep a budget? Weekly or monthly? How do you stay on track? Well, Tracy, I think budgeting is very, very important, and in the early years of my marriage, I stuck by a really strict budget, as I did throughout high school and college when I managed my own allowance and income from working, retail and babysitting and things like that. I had very detailed budgets that I had set up through Excel. After a few years into our marriage, it just seemed like I didn't really need to be that specific. Don and I are very, very blessed to not have to be too strict with a budget. That being said, I do keep on top of all of our bills and bank records and investments. I take that on myself as part of my housewifely duties to manage those things. So I am very, very aware of what goes in and what goes out every month. And I do keep a balanced checkbook. I think that's really important. And I do have a very involved filing system. So there are those ways to budget, but we're very, very, very lucky to have a lot of flexibility within our budget, and we really look at big picture budgeting. Now, if we were on, a bit more of a tighter income, I would definitely return to being very meticulous. I used to keep all credit card expenses, like receipts, notated in my Excel documents, my spreadsheets, and all of that kind of especially, paid attention to. Now what I do is I keep receipts from the past 2 months for credit cards, and then every month when we get our credit card statement, I will just run through it and look at the bigger purchases and make sure that they seem, legit. And then if it's all in order, I will recycle the receipts from like the month before last. So I only keep receipts from 2 months at a time, with the exception of like big purchases, like furniture and big home accessories and really expensive handbags that I want to keep a hold on. But I think there's a lot of wonderful budgeting tools and resources available online to help with more meticulous records. I have started keeping a bit more of a record with my own personal business expenses, but our household expenses, we just try to keep an eye on the accounts and then manage things in more of a big picture kind of way. Courtney asks, what are your spring cleaning tips? Well, I am heading right into spring cleaning I'm just gearing up to it now. And in fact, my next series on this channel will be my spring cleaning organization tidying videos, where I'm going to be looking at certain spaces that need a little tweak, because I tend to do a lot of organizational tweaks this time of year. And that's sort of my spring cleaning. My tips for actually cleaning your house: spring is a wonderful time as soon as it warms up to air out your house. Keep your windows open and just air out your house for a couple of days. Also to beat out any area rugs that you can, or maybe if you have to send them to be professionally cleaned, it's a good time of year to do it. as well as your drapes, if you can clean those at home or if you want to send them out to be cleaned. I change our bed linens seasonally, so I change our sheets obviously every week. I launder our sheets, but our actual like duvet cover and everything, I change that seasonally, so in a couple of weeks I'll be switching out to our spring linens. And it's also a good time to kind of make a list of your appliances that need a little attention, because like your washer and dryer and your dishwasher, you know, those are good things to keep on top of. Probably about twice a year, so spring and fall, as well as making sure that you are replacing your air filters and tuning up your air conditioner if you've got one, addressing those sorts of things. But, you know, I mean, really, I try to keep our house pretty clean on a regular basis. I do have help. I do have a housekeeper that comes once a week. It's not a big secret. I keep on top of my spot cleaning throughout the week, you know, every day. There are certain areas like the mudroom and our family room and our bedroom and the kitchen that need to be picked up and wiped down and just paid attention to every day. So that kind of helps me from having to do like huge clean outs every year. But my last favorite thing to clean out in the spring is the garage, and that always I do a big clean. I have our handyman come power wash the garage floor, and I do a huge clean of the garage where things just tend to pile up in the winter that need to go back up into bins, like seasonal weeds and things like that. Julie asks, in all of your purchases for your organizational projects over the years, is there anything you found that didn't work and you regret buying? I have a pile of things that no matter how long I save, they never fit into any project. I thought about this for a good few minutes before I started filming this video, and I really can't think of anything. I think I'm big on returning things that don't work, and I can usually tell, like, if I buy something specific. I'm also big on going into the, you know, organizational purchases with some idea of what you want, or at least measurements of your space and some idea. So that helps kind of, you know, not buying unnecessary things that absolutely won't work. But sometimes even with measurements and the right idea, you come home with something and it just doesn't fit anywhere, especially not in the place you wanted it. In that case, I return those things. But I do have a little stash of bins and baskets and pouches and containers that I rotate through, because I like to tidy up my organizational, you know, in all the areas of my house every so often, as I just mentioned with the spring cleaning question. And sometimes some things won't work for a little while, but then I'll find another purpose for them. So I can't think of anything specific that I'm like, oh, why did I buy that? Because if it's really that terrible, I'll just return it. Jen asks, how do you corral/organize mail and other paperwork as it comes into the home? I feel like I'm drowning in it. I feel like this is a really common occurrence. And I think I'm going to do a video on this at some point this year, because I get a lot of questions about this. But just briefly, what I do is, as soon as I bring in the mail, like before I even put it down, I sort it. I recycle anything immediately that has to be recycled. I take things out of the envelopes and recycle those things. So this is all in my kitchen. I start in the kitchen. I've just brought the mail in and I'm just sorting through it immediately. I put catalogs I want to read up on the ledge of the counter right where I sit and eat lunch, and that's when I look at catalogs, and I will look at them that day. And I put magazines in my magazine bin that is also in my kitchen right away. So there's nothing sitting on my counter. I don't like piles of things. I just don't like piles. And sometimes you can't help piles, but I like to, as much as I can manage as soon as possible, I do. Then anything left over are bills or documents or things that need my attention, and I've already taken out the envelopes, unless I need to save the envelope for some reason, and recycled the envelopes, and I bring those upstairs. And they go into a sorting system on my desk. And I am in the middle of updating my desktop organization since I expanded to a second screen. And that will probably be my next organizational video up on this channel in a few weeks. But I'll talk about that at the end of the video, kind of my schedule plan for the spring here. And I will be sharing where those things go in that video. But I think I will do a mail paperwork bill paying kind of video at some point in the future, because I get asked that a lot. But I hope that helps. I think dealing with it right away, like that very moment you bring it in, if possible, is great. You know, sometimes you have to put the mail down and you can't look at it right away, but I try to get it to it as soon as I can. I do not leave a pile of mail overnight on my kitchen counter, because otherwise that stuff just piles up. Okay, and then the last Facebook question from Kim is, how do you organize your travel plans and reservations, and how far in advance do you make reservations for trips? Okay, so I've actually made a bit of a 180 in the past year or so, specifically with travel, because for my entire adult life up to this point, so, you know, for all of my 20s, like the past 10 years, I have been super advanced trip planner. And I like to have everything worked out in advance. Plane, you know, rental car, we need that, resort, hotel, dining, all of that worked out well in advance. Spa, if that's an option, which is always nice. And it's really only in the last year that I've started flying a little bit by the seat of my pants, which is different for me. So the last trip Don and I took, and then Don joined me, was to LA earlier in February. And I literally planned that trip 2 weeks before I went. And I spent half the week in LA, and I was visiting with a friend, and I got to go to YouTube Space LA, which was so much fun. And the other half, what Don met me for, we went to Disneyland. And I've never planned a Disney vacation that close in advance. We were only there for like 3 days, and we happened to get everything we wanted in terms of like dining and stuff, which was kind of a miracle, really. But we're actually going on a really last minute weekend getaway tomorrow, just to get a little sunshine and get away for just a very short weekend trip. And we just planned that like 3 days ago. So that's very unusual for me. Most of the time with big trips, week-long trips, where we're going to be gone for at least 4 or 5 days or longer, I will plan probably 3 to 6 months in advance. If not more than that. Disney vacations, I will plan anywhere from 6 to 9 months in advance. Except with the exception of my last, our last Disneyland trip. But I do like having advanced planning for those things, but I've come to learn that sometimes it's okay to just wing it and take a last minute getaway, and it's kind of exciting. But I think for longer or more involved trips, I do like doing advanced planning. And to me, 3 to 6 months feels like a comfortable range, but sometimes you just can't plan for things, and sometimes you just want to go on a little surprise fun thing. So I think making room for spontaneity is something that I am embracing as I am, start on my 30s. Okay, now we'll move over to the Twitter questions. Cindy asked, how would you manage out-of-season clothes if you had small closets? Thanks in advance. I actually did post a video quite a while back. Our second home, it's our family vacation home. It's actually my in-laws' second home, but it's a family vacation home out in Utah. Has a substantially smaller closet than we do here at home, where we have this like enormous bowling alley closet, and I never need to store anything seasonally here, but I do there. That being said, it's still a pretty nice sized closet. I think I would call that like a medium walk-in closet, medium-sized walk-in closet. But there's not, and we have a lot of winter stuff out there between skiing gear and all of the winter coats and sweaters and things, and there's just not enough room to store everything. We don't have that many drawers, dresser drawers either. So I did post a video, and if I can find it, I will link it for you guys below. But I actually think later in the spring I might do a smaller closet organization video and show you guys my Utah closet and how I keep it organized, our bedroom closet out there, because it is, like I said, substantially smaller than our closet at home, and I think a little bit more relatable to the average closet size. I really don't know. I think it's more of a medium-sized closet and not small, but it is smaller than the one at home. So that's something I have on the horizon if you guys are interested. But yes, out-of-season clothes, I love bins. I didn't really answer that question. Bins all the way, under the bed bins, on top of the closet shelf bins, and I will go into more detail on that in that video, which probably be in like late May or so. That's the next time I'm probably going out there. Victor asks, I have too many photos on my computer. You and me both. As a blogger, how do you organize, manage, and store all of your pictures? Thanks. Okay, so I am in the process of kind of changing how I organize photos, and I used to just load everything into iPhoto because I have Macs, and I would store things. I would make events based on months. So I'd have the month in the year would be one event, and I'd have all the photos from that month in that event, which is basically a glorified term for a folder. Well, I've started moving away from iPhoto because it's a little bit limiting in just how you can store things and file accessibility and such. I've started using Adobe Bridge, which is a program that I subscribe to the Creative Cloud, so I get access to all of the Adobe programs, and I really like Bridge. I use it to do a lot of my photo editing and tweaks before I load things into what's it called? Photoshop, that's the one, which is, you know, how I edit my photos for my blog and such. But I like Bridge because I can import directly from my camera through there, and then I organize my files. And this is mainly blog photos. I organize them by category and date. So I have folders for different categories, and within those it's by date. But I do still use iPhoto because it's just so convenient having an iPhone and using the, what is it called? Photo stream? I think that's it, where your photos just automatically go to iPhoto from your phone and vice versa. And that's what I keep all of my iPhoto photos in, is in iPhoto. No, that's what I keep all my iPhone photos in. This is getting confusing. Is in iPhoto. Because it's just so easy. It streams right in there, and I still organize them by month. And honestly, I take mostly all of my personal pictures on my phone and all of my, you know, blogging pictures on my nicer cameras. So it kind of makes sense for me to have those separated for now, but I'm still kind of working through photo organization. It is, you know, I've got like something like 15,000 photos from over the last, I don't know, decade. It's crazy. So it's a work in progress, but that's what I'm doing for now. Bethany asks, what is your favorite organizational project that you've done so far in OLJ? Well, it is my home office series that I posted this time last year. And I will link like the after tour of that video below, and in the description of that video has links to all of the videos. I did a whole series. I overhauled my whole office to be much more functional, and it has just been so nice. I am, like I said, tweaking my desktop, but not because I didn't like the organization I had before, only because I had to change things because the hutch I was using was giving me a neck problem from looking up at my computer every day. And I wanted to expand to 2 screens, and I couldn't fit 2 screens on the hutch. So that's the only reason I'm updating the desktop organization, but that series and that project, I mean, it was a real labor of love because I had let it go for so long and things kind of had piled up, quite literally, and it just was so refreshing to get through it, and I've just loved how it's worked ever since. It's been working really, really well. So that was my favorite. Gabriella asks, how do you organize your emails? I don't. I'm terrible at organizing my emails. And actually, it's one of my goals for this year is to get on top of my inboxes. And I have too many email addresses because I have one for each of my channels. And then I have, you know, one for just Organized Jen, which is like my main public email address. And then I have a couple of private email addresses. One that's mainly for friends and family, and one that's for like stores and things. You know, the when you give your email to people at stores, I don't like to give them, I give them an old email address that I don't check that often because I can't handle all of the junk mail. But one of my goals for this year is to get the emails, my work emails, all going to Organized Jen. So I just have one and not like 5, which is too many. And I have folders in place, but I need to start using them better. And I know I use the mail program that comes with the Mac, and I'm kind of looking for if there's better options, better organizational, structured mail programs out there. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. I'd love to know. But using folders and having things, certain kinds of emails go right into certain folders is good. But what I'm trying to do this year is really just to get on top of the email, which has just gotten really, really overwhelming. And my hope is by the end of the year, and this is a long-term goal, is to have it so that I am cleaning my inbox every day, so that I don't have more than like 15 or 20 emails in my inbox that need addressing by the end of the day. Instead of like, you don't even want to know, it is scary. So that's one of my goals. And related, my last question here from Beth is, what's the one organizational area you dread tackling, the one you put off as long as possible, and why? It's my emails, it's my inbox, and honestly, it's just so weird. I don't know. I've just really, it snowballed into a huge problem. I get hundreds of emails every day, and this includes, you know, personal emails, public emails, solicitations, junk mail, business inquiries. I mean, it's mind-boggling. So I need to really, really crack down on that, but I'm kind of easing into it because it is like stressful to think about. Every time I look at my inbox, I get stressed, and I don't want that to be the case. And that's where organization, I think, really helps me personally, is where my environment, having it organized and tidy just makes me feel calmer. And I think the same goes with like your personal, like your email inbox, your web browser, how your computer's organized, how your planner's organized. I think that all can contribute. So I'm really, really hoping to make huge progress in that this year. And like I said, by the time 2015 rolls around, I really, really, really hope to be on top of it. And really, honestly, the reason it's something I dread is because I've just let it get way out of hand. And it is a huge undertaking, but I'm gonna get there. I just am gonna try. Anyway, those are my questions. Like I said, I want to just talk very briefly about my plans for the spring. As you may well know, I am not a professional organizer. I am not a certified organizer. I'm just somebody who likes to organize, and I like to share what works for me in the hopes that it inspires some of you. And maybe it'll inspire you to do something completely different way, and that's awesome. And if that's really amazing. But I'm not trying to tell you what to do or say that my way is the only way. So not being a professional organizer, I only share what I do in my own life, in my own home, and sometimes in my family members' homes as well. So it's hard for me to have a lot of projects to share with you on a regular basis because I am, like I said, just sharing my own personal endeavors. But I do like to continue sharing, and even if I revisit things that I've already organized in the past, it is because I'm actually personally reorganizing them or overhauling them, and not just because I'm trying to grasp at content for this channel. That's not it at all. As much as I like to post a video once a week, I know it's not really possible to stick to that very strictly, since I'm limited in what I can share with you, which is why I've been adding other things like planner organization and my show and tells, where I show you some of my favorite organizational accessories and things like that. That's sort of a way for me to continue sharing with you when I don't have a specific project to share. So this spring, I'm actually focusing on revisiting some places where I have already posted videos on, but it's been at least a year or two or more, and they need my attention. So I'm going to be taking the rest of the month to start really getting deep into those projects. So I'm not going to be posting here probably until either the very end of March, or I definitely will be back by the beginning of April. And I'm going to be sharing my first project back. We'll be sharing my new desktop organization, and then other things I'm hoping to work on is my kitchen counter organization. Like the counters, and I've already done a pantry redo and all of that. Specifically the counters, and vanity organization update, and possibly a closet overhaul. I feel like that's a long time coming, and dresser drawer redo, because I've started kind of changing how I fold and store my clothes in my drawers. So those are things that I have in my percolating for the spring, and I'm really excited about. I have been receiving some questions about sharing a bit more about a couple of things that aren't necessarily specific organization projects, but they have to do with the little planning series I just did, one of which is how I go about planning. So sharing exactly what I do in my Sunday weekly planning sessions, and you know, how I do my daily to-do lists, and use my work planner in conjunction with my file of facts. So I could do a video about that in the interim if you guys are interested, but I just wasn't sure if there was really that big of an interest in it. Additionally, I have been receiving requests to share about my different journals and what I use for each one, or what I do for each one, which kind of goes with the planning, sort of time management. I mean, it's more of a personal pursuit really, although I feel like they all contribute to making me feel like I'm running on all cylinders, in addition with my planners and everything. So those could be two different videos that I share between now and when I come back with new projects. Otherwise, I don't really have anything to share on this channel right now, as I'm working on things. So let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing those things. I just really wasn't sure, and I hope I answered some of your questions. If I didn't get to your questions this time, I'm sorry. I will try to do another one of these in a few months or so, and I'll try to answer questions I haven't already answered, and I hope you guys are all well. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.